Well, 2 weeks after bringing his Nebraska Cornhuskers to his native home of South Dakota at the Sanford Pentagon, Dolan's Tim Miles is once again giving back into his roots. From 1997 to 2001, Miles coached at Southwest Minnesota State and took the Mustangs to the Elite Eight in his final year. Now, one of the players on that team was current SMSU coach Brad Bigler, and today Miles welcomed his old player and program for an exhibition game in Lincoln. First half, the Mustangs get it to Braden Hansen, who will step just inside the arc after the shot fake and hit the jumper. And they were playing in front of a pretty big crowd at Pinnacle Bank, even for a D2 team coming in, a little over 12,000. And that crowd saw Dawson Boyd alum Michael Lee drain a three. Might as well call him Michael 3. And no surprise that the leader of Bigler's team would chip in as Ryan Brueggemann drives in and hits the runner. He led the Mustangs with 8 points. As expected, though, Miles and his Division I Huskers were way too much for the Mustangs to handle as Isaac Copeland comes in with the slam for the Huskers, who go on to get the victory 79-38, but a great experience for SMSU and Coach Bigler. And again, good job by Miles to bring his old team in. The USD men tipping off Summit League play finally after a postponement last night at North Dakota State. Tristan Simpson bowls over a defender and gets in for the layup. He had 15 points. Coyotes out to a 9-point lead. They'd stretch it to 13 when Simpson finds Stanley Amude for the rim rattler. He led him with 17 points. Yotes led by 13 and 9 at the break. It was all Bison in the second half as Tyson Ward gets a dunk of his own. Former Washington Warrior Dengu had 19 points from NDSU, who goes on to get the win 71-65. After a thrilling Friday of action at the Corn Palace in Mitchell, the bulk of the Hoop City Classic moves to the Sanford Pentagon in Sioux Falls this evening, pitting some of the nation's top-ranked high school teams and players against the best South Dakota has to offer. A rematch of last year's thriller between Minnesota Power DeSalle, and defending South Dakota State champion Yankton Bucks lost that one a year ago, 61-57. Matthew Moore's trying to change that as he spots up for three to give Yankton a 4-point lead. Kansas coach Bill Self probably recruiting him and watching, and I think he was pretty impressed. 2 more for Moores. He had 27 to lead the Bucks. De La Salle, though, also has a pretty good top prospect of their own, Tyrell Terry. That's a heck of a move off glass. He led everybody with 33 points, but Yankton had a little bit more firepower for Chris Haynes as Moores sings a great pass to Cole Sawatsky, who hits a 3, and the Bucks in overtime avenge last year's loss as they beat De La Salle 71-65. Brandon Valley taking on John Marshall out of Rochester, Minnesota. Again, Self there watching that one as well. Courtside, his main target is Marshall's Matthew Hurd. Here's 2 of his game-high 36 points as they were battling back from a 10-point deficit. And also there, Mike Miller, the former namesake of this tournament. Of course, now he's with Memphis, so they had to change the name. He saw a pretty impressive performance from Brandon Valley. Jackson Hilton to the hole. He had 16 points. The Lynx go back on top. And it's Cole Siegfried with the spin and fadeaway hook shot as Brandon Valley goes up by 4. And they'd start to put this thing away. Check out Alex Teachin with a beautiful pass to Evan Talcott. Impressive win for Brandon Valley, 74-62. O'Gorman getting a Findlay prep team that lost the nation's #1 team, La Lumiere, last night. La Lumiere, by the way, playing T as we speak. We'll have highlights of that tomorrow. Findlay prep, all their guys pretty much go to college, and that's why. Taryn Todd with a layup. O'Gorman trailed by 13, but they would start to make their way back in this one. Some nice defense here as the Knights get the steal, and some unselfish play as well as they find Eddie Mailer, the open man, for the layup to get things back to within 9 points. And then a few minutes later on their next possession, it's Luke Ronsick, whose sister Emma just committed to Creighton this week. Well, Luke's pretty good too. He hits a 3, and he has something to say about it for the big crowd. As the Knights get to within 6, they trailed by 8 at half, but just didn't have quite enough to top a powerful Findlay prep team. Look at that 3 from P.J. Fuller. He led everybody with 29 points as the Findlay prep team goes on to win 77-60, but a good effort from O'Gorman. Well, heading up to Brookings for a moment, a good finale to the 25th Entringer Classic between Sioux Valley and Del Rapids. Picked this one up in the first quarter. It's Max Nielsen Trebien to give Sioux Valley the early 2-point lead. They actually would lead after the first quarter. Del Rapids would answer, and this game was close the whole way as Colin Rentz is in the corner for a triple of his own. It was 11-8. Sioux Valley on top, and they get more from Mr. Nielsen as a 3-for-all continues. That one from the corner. Sioux Valley led by 6, but Del Rapids ends up getting the last laugh in this one as Logan Heim will take it inside for the layup, and the Warriors get a nice win, 72-60. Now back to Sioux Falls for some of the early games in the Hoop City Classic. We're going to have extended highlights online after the show. Washington and Dominican out of Wisconsin. Fast break for the Warriors. Gannon Thompson with the finger roll. Warriors led during the second half, but Dominican proves too much thanks to Alex Antetokounmpo. Yeah, he's the brother of NBA star Giannis, and he's pretty good too. And his team gets the win, 61-52. Second-ranked Sioux Falls Christian taking on a Breckenridge, Minnesota squad that beat top-ranked Bridgewater Emory in Class B last night in overtime. And fast start for the Chargers. Great passing finds Xavier Van Beek. Christian up 18-3. Things get worse for the Cowboys. NDSU recruiting 7-footer Noah Christensen on the bench with foul trouble. Gavin Skipper takes advantage, and Sioux Falls Christian more than takes advantage. They win 77-48. Prior to that, the Charger girls took on Hutchinson, Minnesota. They trailed by 8 at half, but come out charging, as their nickname would suggest, in the second half. Down by 4, it's Courtney Kellenberger inside. She had a nice game as they get back to within 2. And Lexi Unruh, well, she was the best player on the floor. 22 points for the Chargers, and she leads them all the way back to get the victory by a final of 53-50. With wins in 6 of their last 10 games, the Sioux Falls Stampede have forced a 4-way tie for 4th place. That's a lot of 4s in the USHL's Western Conference standings, and fittingly, one of the teams they're tied with are the Force of Fargo. That's where the herd were tonight. Wiener dog races, just like everything in Fargo, it's not as good as the ones in Sioux Falls. The Force short-handed in the first period. Ben Myers goes between the legs but can't finish. Alex Cavaruso with a nice save. A few seconds later, Myers going to get a shot on the one-timer from Andrzej Pavel. That shot going to go high, though, and we remain scoreless. Stampede would change that, though, late in the period. Austin Swankler, nicknamed Swanky. That's why. Top shelf. Herd get the win. 5-3, they host Lincoln on New Year's Eve. Finally, in the NHL, the Wild with a matinee in Winnipeg, and Minnesota strikes first. Matt Bartkowski, sounds like he should be a middle linebacker for the Vikings, fires a wrist shot through traffic to beat the Jets goalie Connor Hellebuck. It's 1-0. Second period, off a miss, it's Charlie Coyle collecting the puck in front. He flicks into the back of the net, and the Wild go on to get the victory 3-1. Also, the college football playoff underway as we speak. Clemson hammers Notre Dame 30-3. And after getting out to a big lead, Alabama kind of hanging on against Oklahoma. It's 38-20 right now in the fourth quarter. We're back in one moment.